Welcome back, everybody, to Unconditional Surrender in Europe, game designed by Salvatore Vasta, published by GMT Games. I'm Dren608, and this is a continuation of the Thousand Year Reich series. If you like what you're seeing here, hit that thumbs up button in the thing down below the video. It helps the algorithms in YouTube to keep this up for other people to find when they come looking for Unconditional Surrender videos. If you really like what you're seeing, go ahead and subscribe to my channel and hit the notifications button, and you'll be notified anytime I upload something else. We will get into this. We are getting into, it's near the end of the game. It's March 1945. And we'll just go ahead and get started here. No declarations of war. I think we're going straight into production. Yeah, I was waiting for my opponent, so I was setting up the productions for everybody. So we just go right through that. We go into the strategic warfare phase for the Soviets. +4 to +1. He has an airplane in Stavanger, and I've taken Basra away from him, Basra in Kuwait. So I think we both had things to commit, so we had to go to combat commitment. I saved my partisans, thinking I was going to use them in combat someplace. When you're at the March turn using the partisans for strategic warfare, I still have places to use them in Russia, and if I roll too high, I would never see them again, so I decided to hang on to them. He rolled a 5 + 1 is a 6. I rolled a 7, so he got back his factory. I'm up to +7. I have 5 bombed markers, I think, in over here in the stack. This is a convention that we use, by the way, that after the Allies have bombed their cities, we just take them all off the cities so you don't have to dig through stacks and just put them in a hex not likely to have a unit in it. Just so we know how many there are, but we don't need to know exactly which cities were bombed. That's strategic warfare, so that's why you see that stack there. And then he is +4 because he has Suez, the port in Spain, and of course the airplane in Stavanger. And I think we went to combat commitment again. He committed and I did not. So he went ahead and used up his sub. He rolled a 6 + 4 is a 10. And I rolled in 4, so I lost a factory. He went down to 7 lost factories. And he gets his subs back in 2 turns, so he'll be able to do it again. We go into strategic movement. He brings somebody in to guard Antwerp because he realized it was just totally empty. And I have, if you look on my card here, I have a surprise attack marker kind of sitting there wanting to be used. March is the last time you can use it and get it back, so if an invasion presented itself, I would have used it. Then we're into, I didn't have any strategic moves for anybody else. We go right into actions, options, or operations phase. It goes ahead and takes on the 9th. Before he resolves, he has the Germans go after the Americans, and gets a 5, and with my minuses, I'm going to take 2 sorties to his 1, so he eliminates that airplane from being able to support this attack down here. He's 3 for the armor, 4, 5, and then -1 for the weather. I'm +1 for American, +1 for armor. He rolls a 9, and I rolled a 3. So I flipped and retreated. And he thought about it and said, I'll take it with the armor unit. Next up, he moved this guy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the first. Moves the Italian in. Comes after me again. Obviously, the guy that's not going across the river is the primary, so he's 2, 3, 4. And he didn't add anything. He rolled a 10, I rolled an 8, so I held my hex. He gets the Romanian out of Bucharest, so I can't just take it from him. moves the Yugoslavian in and tries to take on the 3rd Guards. I was showing him that it was a city. So I'm +1. He is 2 for the German and 2 buddies is 4. And then I threw in an aircraft from somewhere. I don't know why we were doing an undo there. Oh, he decided he didn't want to attack that one. He wanted to attack the tanks army. So he changed his mind on what he was going to attack. Still was the same thing. It was 2 for German, 2 for Italian is 4, 1 German, 1 more German is 5, -1 for the weather to my +3 because I still threw the airplane in. He rolled a 9, I rolled a 9. He tries to get this armored unit to retreat in the swamps. That guy's the primary, so 2, 3, 4, -2, so he's +2 to my +2. And I went ahead and threw my airplane in. He did not throw his tanks. He rolled a 3, I rolled a 9, so he was flipped. I was like, hey, flip German. And then he moved the Yugoslavian garrison in there just to fill in the line. Moves this Turk to Haifa. I don't understand what he's doing there, but that's what he does. Brings in the SS Panzer. Goes ahead and attacks the 1st Canadian. He is +1, +2 for German, +1 for elite, +1 for armor, so he's +4. Should be -1 for the weather. He should be at +3. Here we are. Adjusting that, and we're doing combat commitment because he can throw in an air and I can throw in an air, which we both did. This is the air combat. It's the airplane that's here in Aachen because he had less sorties. Went ahead and he threw his jets on this one too. So he rolled a 4 and I rolled a 1, so I took 2 sorties, but I still got into the combat. So he's at +4. I'm at +3. He rolled a 9, I rolled a 9, so held that hex. Moves the French fleet into Gibraltar that he took back. And again, he's just trying to move these armored units. So it's 3, 4, 5, -1. So he's +4 to my +2. I believe I throw an airplane in here. Did not throw his tanks again. He rolled a grand total of 6. I rolled an 8, so that stopped that. He's moving Italians that are in low supply. Now we're in the supply subphase, and I don't think he supplied anything overseas other than the Middle East like he normally does. So now we're into Western Ops, and I said, well, let's try and move this para back. The French are +2 for each of those armored units. So it's +6 -1, so I'm +5 to +3 before we go to combat commitment. Go combat commitment. As I committed and he did not. So that should put me up to +6 to +3. I rolled a 4 + 6 is a 10. He rolled a 4 + 3 is a 7. So he is forced to retreat. So I get the hex. And what are we doing now? Oh, I'm checking out where his airplanes are. So, oh, I flew an American airplane in, and I'm hitting his aircraft that's... So these are air combats that I'm doing here. fly back, and then I have this guy fly down and take. We do our attack here, so that's 2, 4, 6, and an airplane is 7 minus 1, so I'm plus 6 to his plus 3. I rolled a 4 plus 6 is a 10. He rolled a 2 plus 3 is a 5. He could not retreat, so he's flipped. I didn't realize that he couldn't retreat, so I was like, this is kind of actually a waste. Then I will have, this is a desperation attack to try and get a port. I'm 2 for, like, I think it was the Americans were the primary, the 7th. So that was 2 plus 2 for the British is 4. And then I'm going to throw in an airplane. And he didn't have anybody that could reach. He did have his tanks marker left, but he didn't use it. I only rolled a 5. He rolled a 3. So he was nice enough to roll a 1 finally for me, and I was able to take a port. So I barely got to my 5th port in March of 45. Now I was looking to see where he could stop my bombers, and he couldn't. So I just got to place my 5 bomb markers and took my sorties off. And I think I have my airplanes take out the Italian Navy. And I fly the RAF down here, and we're going after his airplanes. I know I put the put that in there. I don't know what I'm doing here. Oh, yeah. So I did a couple of air attacks, and I flew back to England so I wouldn't have to spy it. Fly an American fighter in to finish him off, and then fly back. And then these guys go ahead and try and assault on the Turk, which I only rolled a 3, so he doesn't retreat. And then I think I'm in the supply subphase, supplied the guys in the Middle East. We go through the mechanics here, and it's not for a while that he doesn't intercept me until I think right about now. And he rolled a 3 minus 3, and I rolled a 6 minus 4, which was a 2, so I got through on the Italian fleet. And I think that was it. That was the supply subphase. So we went. I was checking to see how far his airplanes could get, to where I should try to do my attacks. So I had these 2 guys go after the German infantry. The guards and the shock army. The guards army is 1. Shock army adds 2, so that's 3 minus 2. 1 for the weather, 1 for the swamp. So I'm plus 1 to 0 before combat commitment. I believe that's what we're doing. Yes, I committed, he did not. So I added in an air. Where I added that air from? Must have been this one down here. 2893. Yeah, 39. This guy here. This one's the air point I added. Got me up to plus 2 to 0, and then I threw a tanks as well to make myself plus 3. And I only managed to roll a 5. He rolled a 6, so he held. So then I said, let's try and get the Yugoslav. I rolled a 7. He rolled a 2, so I actually got something. And these 2 tried to take Brest from the Italians with an airplane. So the armor is 1, 2, adds 2 for the shock, 3, 4, and the airplane is 5 minus 2, so plus 3 to 0. I rolled a 4, he rolled a 6, so he held. And then I went ahead and tried to push this guy down here in the Caucasus as well. The primary is coming out of Cernate, that tank army. So that's 2, 3, 4, minus 2. So I'm +2 to +2. I think I threw an airplane in. So I got up to 8 to his 6. He rolled enough. I rolled my 6. He rolled enough to hold the hex. And then again, we'll try and push here on Bucharest. He's the primary. And I rolled a 6 + 2, again an 8, and he rolled a 4 + 2, so 6, so he held. And then we tried to flip over the guy in Riga. He was the primary for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, minus 2, so I'm +3 to +2. He throws his tanks, I threw my tanks, and an airplane somewhere. So I was +5 to +3, I rolled a 6. 1 + 5, and he rolled a 9. So he's like, no, I'm not giving you any hexes. And I went to there, and now we're into replacements. And replacements for the West. I did my Americans. And my Brits. Did my Soviets. Soviets are able to build a shock army. End of turn phase. We go to the weather. The weather is... Bring up the charts so you can see them. Oh, this is us doing the end of turn stuff before we did weather, sorry. So I got a bunch of stuff back. He got a bunch of stuff back. We go into April 45. He rolled a 3-2 and a 1. So at this point, with the weather being a 3-2-1, basically it's poor. If you bring up the player aid card here, it's poor in the cold, which we expected. But it's also poor in the mild, and it is fair in the warm zone, but I don't really have anything going on in the warm zone. So at this point, I felt it was no longer an instructive game. And so I asked my opponent to allow me to resign. He's basically rebuilt the German Air Force. The entire German army's on the board. Relatively properly distributed between the East and the West, along with all of his minor allies. If you count, my forwardmost unit is here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If I was unobstructed for 2 turns, I could probably reach into central Germany. Knowing that I have to go through the German army, and it's going to be poor weather here for this turn, that means I have 3 possible turns in the mild zone of fair weather. The odds are, if you look at the weather table, so it's a 3 and 6 times a 4 and 6, 12 and 36. That's what, 1/3 chance that you'll get 3 fair weather turns. And in the cold zone up here, where I still have to bust through Lithuania to get to, the temperate zone, there's only 2 and 6, and then a 3 or 4 and 6. So, that's what, 2 times 4 is 8 and 36. So a little better than 25%, maybe 30% chance of, no, it's not even that. It's not even 25%, because 9 is 25%, right? So it's even less than a 25% chance that I'll get fair 2 turns in a row up here in Lithuania. And if I don't get fair until June, I only have July after June. I only have three turns after this turn. It puts poor here. If I got extremely lucky, I might push him back a hex row in poor weather. Not likely to push him back very far in the west in poor weather. And the other thing that you have to keep in mind, and the reason why I just basically said, I don't think you're going to lose this. He also still has a surprise attack marker sitting in his bucket. So if anything looks threatening when I pull up a fair weather, he can just throw that and get advantageous attacks, not so much to destroy my units, but just flip a bunch of them over. If you flip over a bunch of the American British units or some of the Russian, elite units over here, like their tanks and their shock armies, they're far less effective. So for one fair weather turn, they really can't do a lot. And that's all he really needs, is to delay me that one turn. He and I discussed it a little bit, and I said, if I'm lucky with the Russians, I'll be knocking on the door of Berlin, Dresden, Prague. Maybe I'll have taken Vienna. Maybe. But that's sort of the line I figured I would be at by the end of July. And in the West, I wasn't even sure I would get across the Rhine before July. So that would leave him pretty much central Germany. So, we could slog around and push counters and see what the dice say on how far I can get. But it seemed to me to be somewhat of a waste of time. If the Western Allies can't really be close up to the Meuse River here, they need to be somewhere here by the end of 1944. If you're not close to that, you run into this kind of situation where you just can't quite make up the ground without extra fair weather turns. He was very fortunate. He got 5, 6, 7 poor weather turns after the 1944 fair weather season on both fronts. So that just slowed me down. I've only made a couple hex rows at a time. I think I've pushed on from the Duna is when the poor weather started, and it's taken me 7 turns just to get into Lithuania, and I'm just not getting very far. Those poor weather turns, because I can't advance very quickly, it doesn't take a huge line to slow me down, and those poor weather turns gave him a chance to rebuild the army and then the Air Force, and I just don't see any reason to continue. For those of you that would really like to see this played out, I can contact me in the comment section. I can send you the vsave file of this position, and you can play it out to your heart's content. I really don't see any reason to. The mechanics that are involved, if you've played the game at all, you know what the mechanics are, as far as using a surprise attack marker and things to watch out for, like end run invasions and things like that. But right now, he has enough density of units that even with a huge surprise attack that he doesn't counter in the West, I still would run up against a fair number of Germans, and I'm not going to kill all those Germans. I'm going to retreat them, maybe flip them over. And he has a definite huge economy. He's at, even when I have him up at 9, which I could probably get him back up to 9 here in the last 3 turns. But 15 minus 9 is 6, plus 9 is 15. He's going to be at 30 or more points until I can actually physically take a factory like Metz or Aachen or Dusseldorf. Well, those are behind rivers and very hard to get to if properly garrisoned. And the same thing applies in the east. Until I get to Königsberg and Posen, I'm not taking any factories. So I decided that it was not really worthwhile. I didn't think it would be good video to just sort of watch a World War I dice rolling contest. Like I said, I will get anyone that wants it can have the vsave file. We will figure out how to transfer it, get you a copy of it if that's what you'd like to have. This is going to end the Thousand Year Reich series at this point. Like I said, I don't see a point to continuing something that I just don't think I have any realistic chance of winning. It would take far too much extreme die roll luck for me to be able to conquer Germany or even make a good showing. So that's going to conclude the Thousand Year Reich series. The Germans held in real life kind of situation. We get to August and September of 1945. The A-bombs probably would have been dropped in Germany to end the war there, and then more made and end the war in Japan, at a later date, but through the same means. But in game terms, very well played. I messed up royally and lost England. I thought I did pretty good on coming back and getting as far as I did, having allowed England to get collapsed like I did. Anyway, I'm Dren608. If you like the videos, hit the like button. The little thumbs up button helps the algorithms in YouTube keep these things up for people to find. If you really like what I've been doing, go ahead and subscribe. Hit the notifications button. Anytime I'm uploading other videos on this game or others, you'll get notified. If you, like I said, if you want the vsave file of this, I will send me, make a comment to me. Probably send it to you via private email or something like that. We can work out how to do that. Or I can possibly put it up in a public forum somewhere. Anyway, until we meet again, I'm Dren608. Until we meet again, stay safe. Stay safe.